Incoming transmission.
Picture this. A recording studio somewhere far, far away.
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion on the 8th of March. I'm looking at Myth, History in the Making on the ZX Spectrum today. And it's probably a little bit different to the Amiga version, which I played recently, I suppose a couple of months ago now, but that's fairly recent, I suppose. So we're going to get stuck in. I'm going to get the game started in just a sec. I just wanted to say that I just wanted some feedback on the new intro. It's about time I had a new one, I think. It's been a while since I've had any intro updates, but I just feel that that one feels more retro and stuff. And I've just tweaked it slightly as well. So here we are in Myth, and it's very different to the Amiga version, actually. Taking the role of what looks like some sort of young man rather than a blue-haired troll or whatever he was meant to be. Okay, so controls seem to be that you have a upwards jump, a sort of a that sort of power jump there. I believe you can scroll through the icons at the top of the screen as well, but we'll sort that out as and when. We can crouch and there we go. We can activate stuff now. So I've got hearts, which I think is invulnerability, and I've got 36 fireballs. You activate that by pushing this space bar, and then you can scroll through whichever one you want. Press the space bar again, and you've selected what you need. So it's very sort of reminiscent of the Amiga version in that respect, because it's sort of how the way the Amiga version worked as well. Obviously, I don't actually. Does anyone know why they changed it on the Amiga? Because does it make more sense to have this little chap stuck in time, or do you prefer the blue-haired troll dude? Oh, and apparently if you headbutt those skeletons you lose health, so you want to be using the fireballs as much as possible. And I think it seems to be very similar where you have to get the heads. Okay, so I don't know how many heads we need, but I'll just keep collecting them. Now, you can tell there's no music in the game, and there's no music on the title screen either. And sound in the game is very minimal too. But I suppose if you think about it, the game is actually quite vast. So to squeeze all that into the Spectrum's tiny little memory banks is actually really impressive. Quite impressed with this already. You can have a look. Let's have a quick look at the heads-up display there. We've got lives in the top left, the score at the top. In the middle, we've got how many fireballs we've got. In the centre of the screen at the top, you've got your abilities bar, which gives you all the stuff that you've got. We've got 8 skulls now. And on the top right, we've got our energy level, which at the moment is dire. And then we've got our spheres box in the right-hand corner as well. It's really actually quite busy, isn't it? But it's subtle in a way. You don't have to worry about it. It's not intrusive in the slightest. I quite like it as well. Colours in the game are very nice. It kind of reminds me a bit of the Dizzy landscape a little bit. The reds and the sort of the way the stalactites and all that, and stalagmites. So I'm not sure which ones are the ones that hang down. I think it's stalactites. But we're not here to review those. We're here to have a look at the game. Now I have to say, the animation on it's very smooth indeed. Nice scrolling as well, which is always nice. And it's always got. Oh, oops! Headbutted Mr. Skeleton's foot, because that obviously will kill you. So yeah, I think you've got to just be careful on what you hit. And obviously it's strange because you can't break these things. You have to kick these, which obviously will give you goodies. They'll either give you hearts or they'll give you fireballs, depending on what you need. I love the way my head clips straight through that. Right, you don't seem to lose health from dropping great distances either, which is nice. We want to get as much stuff as we possibly can to help us through. It seems very similar to the Amiga version in respects of what you need to do to progress. Got to say, the level design's really nice. And obviously I've only been used to the Amiga version, so I'm going to cover this on all systems, but obviously not, you know, I'll space them out a little bit, so it's not going to be myth. I'll space those out a little bit. I've been looking forward to playing this one, actually. Oh, those are health globes, in case you were wondering. But it's just very well put together. Very minimal clipping involved as well, which is nice. Which is quite a rarity on a Spectrum game, to be fair. I do notice that you do disappear in the background quite a lot, so you've got to be careful of that as well. But once you know where you are, it's not really a problem. These skellies there, you've got these big fountains of fire, which look absolutely gorgeous as well. They're really nicely done, and they're, for such a minimal amount of graphics as well. Oh, how do we get across here? Wonder if I chuck those skeleton heads in there. Does that work? There's nothing across there. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm going to chuck these heads into this pit and see if anything happens. But it's very, very nice. I mean, considering the Spectrum had so little to work with, I think it actually works really well. Okay, nothing happened with that, so it's obviously not there. I need to use those. But I can forgive the lack of sound. I mean, there is in-game sound, as you can probably hear, because I don't need to, you know, mess about with audio volumes, because normally what happens in a review, I do need to adjust the audio volume after I've played it, so that the voice channels don't get overrun by video game noise, which is quite nice. Just for those wondering, when I play, I actually have a separate sound editor open while I'm recording the voiceover, so it doesn't interfere with the capture software and all that stuff. So there, yeah, and throwing some skulls in there is doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, there's minimal sound. I don't really need to, like I say, adjust the sound levels so you guys can hear me perfectly fine. Difficulty seems to be right on the money. I think for stage 1, you're definitely looking at trial and error, mainly, to be honest. The other thing I like is when you've actually taken a hit, you kind of become invulnerable for a short time. I also like the reformation animation, which you just saw there, which is actually really nice as well. A lot of thought's gone into this, and I'm really surprised they've managed to get this much in. I mean, you would have thought that this would have been like the game with this like not this one screen, but this one level would be the game. But no, there's more levels, and it's quite a big game. And there was supposed to be a sequel, at least there was on the Amiga, I think, which I think was going to be called Dawn of Steel, but it never arrived, which is a bit of a shame. But never mind. But the sort of premise is the same. Oops, the premise is the same. You've got to. I wonder if this is where I've got to chuck those skulls in. Actually, let's have a look. So yeah, the premise is the same. It's just you've got a different character. The levels are designed slightly differently. The Amiga could obviously handle more colour and sound at the same time. But other than that, you know, I think if you were a Spectrum owner and you were playing this, I think you'd be very, very happy with it. I'm certainly blown away by this. It's really actually quite nice to play. The frustration levels aren't actually there. I think I'm actually quite enjoying playing this. It's great. And you know, some games when you've got trial and error just don't give you any sort of hints or clues on what you're meant to do. The fact that you're dropping skulls gives an idea that you've got to use them somewhere, and I think I've just whoops. This jumping mechanism takes a bit of getting used to, but other than that, because you push down on the joystick and you do like a single jump, and then you push up on the joystick and you do this big sort of heroic leap type thing. I wonder if I can release the shield. Now you've got to release the shields on these, and you do that by throwing fireballs at it until it stops and drops. There he goes. I wonder if I go back in. Oh, I've got to do it. So don't waste fireballs when you're doing that, everybody. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, folks. This has been Myth, History in the Making on the Spectrum. This has been the Retro Revival Show. I've been Rich. Thanks for tuning in. All of you subscribers, old and new. I'll catch you again very soon, folks. Bye for now.